You're 61 years old, sitting at your kitchen table on a Tuesday morning in March, staring at your 401k statement. $187,000. That's it. That's everything. 37 years of working, and the number on that screen is supposed to carry you through the next 20, maybe 30 years. Your coworker Sharon just told you she's pushing retirement to 68 because the experts say you need at least $1 million. And here you are with $187,000 doing the math in your head, wondering if you're going to spend your 70s greeting people at Walmart. Meanwhile, there's this 68-year-old woman named Barbara who lives 2 streets over. She retired 3 years ago with $215,000 saved. You know this because she mentioned it at book club, completely unbothered. No stress, no panic. She just got back from visiting her daughter in Colorado. She volunteers at the library on Wednesdays. She seems fine. Better than fine, actually. She seems happy. My name's Dave, and I'm about to tell you something that's going to make you unreasonably angry at everyone who's been feeding you retirement advice for the last 20 years, because Barbara figured out what the financial industry doesn't want you to know. Here's what nobody tells you. When you retire, something magical happens. Not to your investments, to your expenses. They collapse. Not slowly, not gradually. They crater like someone cut the bottom out of your budget. But first, let me show you why everyone keeps screaming about needing $1 million. The financial services industry loves throwing around averages. The average American household spends $77,000 per year. Therefore, using the 4% rule, you need $1.925 million to retire. Math checks out, right? Except it's completely divorced from reality. Americans between 65 and 74 have a median retirement savings of $200,000, not anywhere close to $1 million. The median. That means half of all retirees in that age group have less than $200,000. And somehow, most of them aren't living under bridges. They're not eating cat food. They're retired. They're managing. So either half of America's retirees are suffering in quiet desperation, or something else is happening that the "you need $2 million" crowd isn't telling you about. And this is exactly what they're hiding. When you're working full-time, you pay what I call the work tax. This is different from income tax. It's the invisible bleeding of money that happens because you have to show up to a job 5 days a week. Now, let's check it out. The average American can set aside up to $340 per month just for commuting costs, which tells you something about how much people actually spend getting to work. That's gas, that's car maintenance, that's the extra wear and tear on a vehicle that now sits in your driveway instead of racking up 12,000 miles a year. But the work tax is bigger than just commuting. It's the dry cleaning bill because you can't show up to the office in sweatpants. It's the $14 salads you buy 3 times a week because you only have 45 minutes for lunch and there's a Panera across the street. It's the Starbucks run every morning because you woke up late and didn't have time to make coffee at home. Add it up. $340 for commuting, maybe $150 a month on work clothes and dry cleaning, $200 on convenience food purchases, $100 on coffee and lunches you wouldn't buy if you were home. That's $790 per month, $9,840 per year. Gone. The day you retire, that entire category of spending vanishes. But here's what makes this truly insane. For higher earners, the work tax is even brutal. Let me introduce you to 2 people, Jessica and Amanda. Both 64 years old, both retiring this year. Jessica worked in corporate America her entire career. She made $95,000 a year before she retired. Amanda worked as an office manager making $62,000. Different salaries, different savings, but here's what matters: their work tax. Jessica was spending $1,100 per month on work-related expenses she didn't even track. New work clothes because she had to look polished, expensive lunches because she was networking, a newer car because she had a 40-minute commute and couldn't afford to break down, daycare costs that disappeared when she retired. Amanda's work tax, on the other hand, was $650 per month. Lower income, lower expenses, but still a massive chunk of money that simply stopped existing when she clocked out for the last time. So let's do the actual math. Jessica went from spending $82,000 per year to $53,000. That's a $29,000 drop. Amanda went from $54,000 to $37,000, a $17,000 reduction. Not because they suddenly started eating ramen and clipping coupons. They just stopped losing a lot of money due to their employment. Now here's where Social Security enters the conversation like a freight train full of money that everyone keeps ignoring. The average monthly Social Security benefit as of January 2026 is $2,071. For a single person, that's $24,852 per year. For a couple, roughly $4,100 per month, or about $49,200 per year. Wait, stop. Read that again. A married couple retiring today can expect roughly $49,200 per year from Social Security alone, and this number is inflation adjusted for the rest of their lives. You know what you'd need in a 401k to generate $49,200 per year using the 4% withdrawal rule? You'd need $1,230,000. Let that sink in for a second. Social Security is effectively handing you a $1.2 million annuity. You didn't save it, you don't manage it. It just shows up every month, adjusted for inflation for the rest of your life. So when financial advisors say you need $1 million, they're conveniently ignoring that you already have the functional equivalent of $1 million in guaranteed income before you touch a single dollar of your savings.
Back to Amanda. She needs $37,000 per year. She's getting $24,852 from Social Security. That's a $12,148 gap. Using the 4% rule, she needs $303,700 in savings to cover that gap safely for 30 years. But Amanda only has $198,000. So she's doomed, right? She's $105,000 short of what the calculator says she needs. This is where she's supposed to panic, push retirement to 70, and spend the next 6 years working a job she hates while her knees deteriorate. Except here's what actually happens. Retirees don't spend the same amount of money every single year from age 65 to 95. That's not how human beings work. That's not how aging works. And anyone who tells you to plan for flat expenses across 3 decades of retirement is either lying or doesn't understand how people actually live. There's something called the spending smile in retirement research. From age 65 to 75, your spending is highest. These are the go-go years. You travel, you do projects around the house, you see friends, you're healthy and active, and actually doing the things you spent 40 years saying you do when you have time. Then, from 75 to 85, your spending drops by about 20%. These are the slow-go years. You're not taking 3 international trips a year anymore. You're not renovating the kitchen. You're still living well, but the pace slows down. The appetite for expensive activities decreases naturally. After 85, spending drops even further to what researchers call the no-go years. This sounds depressing, but it's just reality. At 87, you're probably not dropping $8,000 on a Mediterranean cruise. So Amanda doesn't need $37,000 per year for 30 straight years. She needs $37,000 for the first decade, then $30,000 for the second decade, then even less after that. Suddenly, that $198,000 goes a lot further. Suddenly, the math actually works. Now you're thinking, okay, Dave, but Amanda got lucky. What if something goes wrong? What if her car dies? What if she needs a new roof? Great question. Let's talk about the emergencies that everyone assumes will bankrupt you in retirement. Amanda's 16-year-old car needed a transmission at year 4 of retirement. $3,400. Painful, right? Except she had been saving $340 per month that she used to spend on commuting. Even after not working for 4 years, she had enough in her emergency fund to cover it without touching retirement savings. The car lasted another 6 years before she replaced it with a 2019 Honda Civic for $16,000, paid cash. Her savings barely moved. Year 7, the roof needed replacing, $8,200. She pulled from savings, but remember, she'd been spending under her Social Security income for the previous 4 years. The balance was still higher than when she retired. The emergencies everyone fears aren't actually retirement killers when you're not also bleeding $650 per month on work expenses at the same time. But here's the objection that keeps smart people working longer than they want to. What about healthcare? Healthcare costs will destroy me before I'm eligible for Medicare at 65. Okay, fair. Healthcare before Medicare is legitimately expensive. But we're talking about people retiring at 64, 65, 66. They're not retiring at 55. If you retire at 64, you need 1 year of private insurance. 1. Expensive? Yes. $800 to $1,000 per month for a decent plan if you're healthy. And is that catastrophic? No. That's $12,000 for 1 year. You spend more than that on your car over the same period when you're commuting to work. And once Medicare kicks in at 65, healthcare costs become predictable. The standard Medicare Part B premium in 2026 is $202.90 per month. Add a supplement plan for another $150 to $200, you're looking at $400 to $450 per month for healthcare. Manageable, budgetable, not the financial apocalypse everyone keeps warning you about. The medical bankruptcy stories you hear are real, but they're overwhelmingly hitting people who are uninsured or underinsured in their 40s and 50s, not retirees on Medicare. The financial industry doesn't want you to know this because there's no money in telling people they're fine. There's no commission on "you probably don't need our services." There's no advisory fee on "just spend less and let Social Security cover most of it." They make money when you're scared. They make money when you think you need complex investment strategies, managed portfolios, and annuities with 2.5% fees. They make money when you believe retirement is some impossible mathematical puzzle that only professionals can solve. But it's not. It's subtraction. Income minus expenses equals whether or not you're okay. That's it. That's the whole game. Now you're thinking, this sounds great for Amanda, but I live in San Francisco. My property taxes alone are $12,000 a year. I can't retire on $200,000. You're right. You can't. Not in San Francisco. But here's the thing nobody tells you because it feels too drastic. You don't have to stay in San Francisco when you retire. I know, your kids are there, your friends are there, your whole life is there. But let's do the math on what staying costs you. You're paying $12,000 in property taxes. Your house is worth $1.4 million, but you still have $340,000 left on the mortgage. Cost of living is 65% higher than the national average. You're spending $6,200 a month just existing before fund money. If you sold that house, paid off the mortgage, and moved to a place like Boise or Asheville, or even the suburbs of Sacramento, you'd pocket $800,000 after paying off the loan and closing costs. Now you could buy a nice house outright for $350,000. You have $450,000 in savings, zero housing payment, and property taxes of $2,400 per year instead of $12,000. Your gap just closed. You went from needing $1.2 million to needing $180,000. But Dave, I don't want to leave California. Then don't retire early. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to show you the math. The math says you can't have everything. You can't retire early, stay in an expensive city, maintain a high cost of living, and do it all on a modest nest egg. Those things are mathematically incompatible. But you get to choose which variable to change. Move, work longer, reduce spending, or have more saved. Pick one. So what do you actually do if you're sitting on $200,000 and wondering whether you can pull the trigger? Step 1. Track your actual spending for 3 months. Not what you think you spend, what you actually spend, every dollar. This is annoying and tedious and absolutely necessary. You cannot plan for retirement if you don't know where your money goes. Step 2. Separate your spending into categories. Fixed costs that won't change in retirement, like property taxes and insurance. Reduced costs that will shrink or vanish, like commuting and work clothes. And lifestyle costs that are optional, like travel and dining out. Step 3. Build your real retirement budget. Take your current spending, subtract everything in the work tax category, subtract your mortgage payment if it'll be gone in the next few years, add back health care if you're retiring before 65. This is your actual number, not some calculator's average, your number. Step 4, compare that number to your Social Security estimate. You can get this from SSA.gov. It takes 10 minutes. If your Social Security covers 80% of your retirement budget, you're in good shape. You only need savings to cover the gap. Step 5, multiply your gap by 25. That's how much you need saved if you're using the 4% rule. If your gap is $10,000 per year, you need $250,000. If your gap is $15,000, you need $375,000. Simple math. Here's the thing about the 4% rule. It's designed to make your money last 30 years, even if you retire right before a market crash. It's extremely conservative. If you're willing to be slightly flexible, pulling 4.5% or 5% in good years and 3.5% in bad years, your money will probably last even longer. Retirement is not about hitting a magic number. It's about understanding the gap between your income and your expenses and managing that gap. If Social Security covers 70% of your spending and you have enough saved to cover the other 30% for 2 decades, you're not broke, you're retired. The system wants you scared. Scared people are profitable. Confident people who understand basic math and don't need wealth management services are not. So here's my question for you. How much of your life are you willing to trade for a number on a screen that might not even matter? If this changed how you think about retirement, hit that like button. If you want more straight talk about money that most financial advisors won't tell you, subscribe. And if you're one of the people sitting on $180,000 wondering if you're allowed to stop working, leave a comment. Let's talk about it.